Erica's not a skilled therapist. She is a biblical scholar in her own right, studied at Beeson Divinity School, right? She was telling us at breakfast about her language work in Hebrew and Greek, and that came through so beautifully in your teaching last night. So we are honored to have you. Will y'all show your warm welcome for Erica Smith?
Thanks so much, Drew. It's such a privilege to be with y'all. Thank you so much for having me. I see lots of new faces this morning. Welcome to camp. I hope everybody slept well. I did, kinda. Anybody else hit their head on a bunk bed last night? A few of you? Okay, yeah, I see you. This morning, we're going to do a little bit of a recap in that I'm going to repeat everything that I said last night so everybody's up to speed. Just kidding. We are doing love languages, and this morning we're going to talk about conflict. And so for about 75% of the room, you just started sweating a little bit. And 25% of the room was like, yes. Kind of depends on where you fall in your personality. But first thing I want to do is kind of recap what the love languages actually are. There are 5 of them. There's a 6th proposed love language, and as I said last night, I'm going to make you wait to session 3. So if you hate everything I say in session 2, you're going to have to still come back to find out what the 6th love language is. But the 5 love languages are quality time, words of affirmation, physical touch, gifts, and acts of service. These are the 5 ways that people primarily express and receive love. What these mean, words of affirmation, did I start there? No, quality time. Quality time is the first one. This is undivided attention and presence. Undivided time, undivided attention and presence with another person. We talked last night about quality time is not the same as quantity time. Quantity time is I spend a lot of time with this person, but I might be on my phone. Or I spend a lot of time with this person, but I'm not really paying attention. I'm not really engaged with them. Quality time is undivided attention and presence. Words of affirmation is simply expressing affection through verbal affirmations. This can be written or spoken. So these are people that feel loved primarily when you say really nice things about them, but in a specific, intentional way. This isn't flattery. Flattery, we talked about last night, is about me getting you to like me. Affirmation is me expressing to you that I love you. Flattery is about me, affirmation is about you. And what we're talking about here is expressing affection through affirmation. The third is physical touch. These are people that primarily receive and express love through affectionate, meaningful touch. So that can be anything from a hand on the shoulder, a high five, big hug. These are the huggers in the room. We also included last night that we really like consent. So it's also consensual touch, right? This is touch that feels good to everybody involved. Gifts are another love language. Gifts, people who have a primary or secondary love language of gifts receive and express love through meaningful gifts, not the item, not the cost, but the value of the item in its expression to the person. It shows that you're thinking about the other person when you're not with them. So the gift is not really about the item, it's about a demonstration of I was with you when I wasn't with you. And acts of service, this is my personal one. Acts of service is feeling affection through someone else doing something for you that you care about. It's the expression of I care about what you care about. And so I'm going to take the time out of my life, out of my day, to serve you in some way that's going to positively impact you. And actually, we have some slides that also define the love languages for us. These are also the 5 love languages sort of demonstrated. Last night we did it in the form of tacos. This is in the form of vacations. Does anybody else have a love language of vacation? Yeah, okay. Just a few of you, I'm sort of surprised. Some of y'all are just never gonna raise your hand, are you? All right, we'll have you by session 3, raising your hand. Okay, acts of service. I planned our entire trip. Receiving gifts, here's a trip. Quality time, let's go on a trip together. Words of affirmation, you planned a great trip. Physical touch, holding someone's hand on the airplane while on a trip. The next one, this is a tweet. My love language is all of them. Get me a gift while you're running errands for me, then come home and rub my head for an hour while complimenting me the entire time. And then do it again every day forever. and the last one. My love language is making fun of each other until one of us goes too far and then we're in a fight. I used to tell people my love language was words of sarcasm. I had to dial that back a little bit because that last one started to become part of my life. So there may be a few of you in the room that can relate to that. Last night we talked about learning love languages is not just about learning a tool. This is a tool, it's not the tool for love. This is actually about building a culture within your church family. It's about building a culture of intentionality in the relationships that you have around you. And this morning we're gonna talk about conflict. Here's why this is important. If you can do conflict well, you can do relationships well. Every healthy relationship has conflict. There's no such thing as a healthy relationship that doesn't have conflict. And if you can do conflict well, the satisfaction and the meaning in your relationships and the way you experience the people around you will increase astronomically, and it will change the world around you. Y'all talk about love lives here. There is a ripple effect. When love lives here, it does extend beyond. If you want to see Birmingham become a different city, learn to do what we're talking about today really well. This can change the city. This will change the state, learning to do conflict well. So how does conflict happen? We've all been in conflict. Conflict often occurs when two people have unmet expectations, they miscommunicate, or they simply just miss each other. Knowing how to move through conflict and restore connection is the key to feeling satisfied in your friendships, your work relationships, your roommate relationships, your marriage, your family, and the world around you. In the world of love languages, Gary Chapman, the author of the Love Language book, there's also a series of books on love languages that he's written. He says that you are more prone to conflict in your relationship when your love tank gets low. We all have a love tank. It's kind of like a gas tank. When I extend love to other people in the way they best receive it, it fills up their gas tank. If they are around me and not feeling loved, their gas tank gets low, their love tank gets low, and they're more prone to conflict. Same thing with me. It's kind of like having a sunburn, right? You lay in the sun too long, you get burned. Usually a shower feels really good. You get a sunburn, and all of a sudden, the sensation that was pleasant is irritating, right? It hurts all of a sudden. Sort of the same thing. When your love tank, yes, I think so. Is the red light on?
Yes.
Great. Mic check. Where was that? It's okay, sunburn, all good. No, I appreciate that. Because there's a chance I'm gonna forget for session 3, so interrupt me then too. Yeah, great. When you have a sunburn, the things that feel good suddenly feel like they are rubbing against you, and they will make you mad, right? That love tank gets low. People sometimes will walk around and they say, I just don't have capacity. I just don't have capacity right now. Really, I think what they're actually saying is, my tank is just too low. I'm out of gas. I have not felt loved in a while. So I'm going to go through each one of the love languages, and we're going to talk a little bit about how each one engages in conflict in a healthy way and the way that they tend to engage in conflict in a not healthy way, and what we can do to mitigate some of those things. We're also going to talk about what happens when there's a mismatch between two love languages in a partnership, in a marriage, with coworkers, with friendships, how that can bring conflict. So if you were here last night, you know that I make you stand up and sit down a lot. I'm going to make you do it again. Because this is a family retreat, right? This is about building kingdom family. And the people around you actually do want to know how to best love you, and you want to know how to best love them. So if you are a quality time person, if it's your first or your second, your primary or secondary love language, would you just stand up for a second? Hello, quality timers. Good morning. We have some new faces. Look around. See your quality time people. Again, see, y'all have a tell, right? Nobody is surprised by the quality time people because these are the people that want to spend time with you. They're the ones that are arranging things. They're the ones that want to hang out with you. The quality time people, y'all have a tell, which is the time. You can sit down. Quality timers, raise your hand for me if you have ever felt extremely hurt or angry with somebody you're in relationship with because they were with you but not with you. Because they're with you but they are not present. Oh yeah. Everybody feels that frustration. For quality time people, it is through the roof, okay? Because it's the way that they most feel loved. It's also the way they feel most rejected. So when you're with quality time people, like if that's your spouse, and they're a quality time person, when you're noticing that they're trying to engage with you, just turn toward them. Pay attention, get really present with them. Quality timers are most likely to feel hurt by disengagement or someone's lack of interest. When a quality time person's love tank gets too low, the word they often use to describe it is, I feel lonely. Each love language has a different word attached to it. They are most likely to feel alone. They're most likely to feel rejected and lonely. How quality timers tend to behave in conflict. Listen, I am making generalizations here. This is not true across the board. Can everybody agree that this is not going to fit every single person in the room that is quality time? Okay, this is just a tendency that we see over and over again, but this is not true for everybody. When quality timers are in an unhealthy place, in conflict, these are the people that are going to walk away and seek isolation. When quality time people end up in relationship and it makes them nervous, they're the hiders. They're the ones that are like, I'm not doing this. And they're in the other room and they're staying there and they're not gonna deal with it, okay? Quality time people, when they're in a healthy space, when they have enough in their love tank to deal with conflict, they're actually the ones that are more likely to lean towards connection. They're the ones that are gonna go, hey, can we talk? I feel disconnected from you. I'm feeling lonely, can we talk? I really wanna connect with you. Hey, can we go get a cup of coffee? They're leaning towards connection when they're in a healthy space for conflict. Okay, where are my words of affirmation, folks? If that's you, for primary or secondary, so you might be standing up twice. Okay, there you go. Words of affirmation, people look around the room. Y'all look so nice this morning. Thank you so much for making the time to be here. Y'all are great. You can sit down. You words of affirmation, people. I love y'all because, and I mean this in the best way possible, it is so easy to make y'all feel loved. You can do it so fast. How many of you words of affirmation people have felt frustrated, hurt, or resentful because you felt unappreciated? Ooh, oh yeah. See, everybody can feel hurt, resentful, and frustrated when they feel unappreciated, but for people that have a primary love language of words of affirmation, that one, it's so high. It is devastating for them, words of affirmation. Last night, I shared a lot of my story of growing up with ADHD and dyslexia, and for me, my primary at that time was words of affirmation. Well, as a dyslexic kid, with ADHD in a classroom, I was not getting a whole lot of affirmation. And when my mom discovered that my love language was affirmation, it totally changed my life because she started speaking into my strength. That criticism is crushing for people with words of affirmation. When their love tank gets too low, these people are most likely to say, I feel unappreciated. Their unhealthy approach to conflict is this. You don't even exist to me. Silent treatment, right? These are the people that are withdrawing in silence when they have an unhealthy approach to conflict. Some of y'all are laughing because you're like, oh yeah, conviction. Oh, I think I just accidentally stuck my tongue on the microphone. That's gross. In a healthy place, these are the people that are most likely to keep the lines of communication open. No surprise there. These people value words. These are the people that are going, words matter. They are also the people in conflict. They want to be very specific about what the conflict is and how to fix it. And they want to talk about it. These are the people that are going, their approach to conflict when they're in a healthy spot is, hey, we need to have a conversation. Some of you get really sweaty when somebody in your family says, we need to talk. They might just be a words of affirmation person, and this is their healthy approach to conflict. Physical touch. If you are a physical touch person, stand up for me, look around the room. Where are all my physical touch people, primary or secondary? Oh yeah, huggers. Give them a high five. Yeah, there you go, there you go. Give these people a high five if you're sitting around them, you know, shake hands, give them a thumbs up. Oh, am I back on? We're good? Okay. These are people, raise your hand if you have ever felt like no one cares about you because you haven't been touched in a really long time. Raise your hand. Or if somebody has not hugged you for a while, you're going, I just feel real disconnected from people. Anybody that familiar for? A few of you. They are most likely to use the word disconnected when their love tank gets too low. They're the ones that are going, I feel disconnected, and sometimes I'm not sure why. Usually it's, I need a meaningful touch. I need a hug. I need to know that the people around me care about me. They might feel touch-starved. Their unhealthy approach to conflict is to beat people up. Just kidding. I actually said to Mitchell earlier this morning, I was like, it'd be really great if you could just like start a fight on the stage. That would really be a great intro for this talk on conflict. Give me some meat for the physical touch people. And actually, the physical touch people are very similar to words of affirmation, except it's the non-verbal silent treatment. It's the you're untouchable and don't touch me approach to conflict. It's the non-verbal silent treatment. And you can feel it. You can see it in their body. When they have a healthy approach to conflict, they are often using touch as a means of reconnection. Right? When their love tank gets low, it's because they feel disconnected. Their means of reconnection is a hand on the shoulder. They're the one that's going to reach out and go, I feel like we're in a conflict right now. Can we do something about that? They're most likely to reach out gently, comfortingly, and with nurture in the middle of conflict when they're in a healthy place. Gifts people, if you're a gifts person, stand up, primary or secondary. I know there were just a few last night. Do we have some more? Oh, good. Okay, we found some. Yay! I knew you weren't alone. Okay, y'all, pay attention to these gifts people. Okay? Birthdays and Christmas matters to these people right here. Okay? Okay, and don't forget, it's not about the cost. It's about something that means something to them that shows, I was thinking about you when I wasn't with you. You can sit down. I used the example last night about my friend who's a librarian on campus. She loves the color, sort of that in-between color of red-orange. And one fall, I was walking down the sidewalk at Sanford, picked up a leaf that was her favorite color, brought it to the library, and I swear she melted through the floor. Love language gifts, and it was a leaf, y'all. Gifts people. Love gifts people. My best friend's a gifts person too. Gifts people, when their love tank gets too low, they are most likely to feel unknown. Raise your hand if you've ever been hurt by feeling unknown and you're a gifts person. Or raise your hand if you got a gift that made you feel unknown and it hurt. Yes, yeah. See, it's really not about the gift. It's showing that you know them with the gift. I asked my best friend, her name is Amy, if I could share this story about a time that we had some conflict, and she said, yeah, that's fine, as long as you tell them that I won and you had to apologize. That's not my version of the story. My best friend Amy, she's a Disney vacation planner. She's one of those crazy Disney adults that can't get enough of the mouse, okay? She goes to Disney about 5 times a year. I'm actually going with her a week from tomorrow, and really excited about it because she's also the one that is I planned our entire trip, and I'm an acts of service girl, so we're both feeling very loved right now. So one year, I had noticed that every time she goes to Disney, she comes back with these, what I think look ridiculous, mouse ears. And she wears the mouse ears through the entire trip at Disney. Okay, have you ever seen these people, like pictures of these people? Okay, it's crazy land to me. I kind of love it. It scares me a little bit. You Disney people are a little scary. Might be a cult, I'm not sure. So Amy loves Disney. She also loves the Crimson Tide. So do I. I'm an Alabama fan. I'm sorry to you Auburn fans. Okay, but Roll Tide if you're Roll Tide. Yeah, there you go. I see you. That's right. When Nick Saban retired, I literally thought somebody better go check on Amy. She's probably having an aneurysm right now. She is diehard Alabama fan. So one Christmas, this is a few years ago, I'm on Etsy just at random, and I don't know how the algorithm pulled this up, but these mouse ears show up in my little like suggested feed on Etsy. And in the mouse ears, I found a pair of mouse ears that were Alabama Crimson Tide themed Disney mouse ears. And I'm like, I have won the gift lottery. I am the best friend in the whole wide world. So I spend the money on these ears, they get shipped, and I'm so excited. Christmas comes around. I'm so excited to give her this gift, and I've wrapped it all cute. And we go and we have our little gift exchange. She opens it, and this is her reaction. Aww. And I was like, okay, now wait a second. This was before I had the tools. And I was like, okay, that was not what I was expecting. I'm trying not to be mad, but I'm like mad because I'm like, what the heck? I cannot believe this reaction. She did the healthy thing, I will be honest. She goes, Eric, I gotta tell you something. And I was like, okay. She goes, I love these ears. I'm never gonna wear these ears. I was like, okay, can I have them back? I didn't actually ask for them back. She got to keep the ears. And I said, well, why? And she said, I buy ears on the trip that represent the trip that I was on. They're really meaningful to me because there's a memory attached to them. And so every time I go to Disney, I wear my ears, and they remind me of all the other trips that I've been on. Y'all, it was such a gift to me because in our relationship, you know what I get her for every Christmas? When we go to Disney, I sneak off and I go buy her ears that represent our trip. And then at Christmas, I give her ears that represent the trip that we had. And it's so much more meaningful. But we had this conflict, right? Because she was like, I feel unknown. You knew me, but you didn't quite know me. And she did the healthy thing and talked to me about it, which I'm super grateful for. It's why we're best friends. When their love tank gets too low, they're most likely to feel unknown. Gifts people, all of the unhealthy approach, okay, for every love language is withholding something. But for gifts people, it's an actual thing. They are withholding or they're taking something away. They're kind of going, I saw this thing that made me think of my husband, my roommate, my friend, my work partner, whatever. I'm not going to do that, right? They're kind of punishing the person by withholding in some way. Their healthy approach to conflict is that they are always bringing something to the table. These are the people that say, hey, I bought us Starbucks. Let's chat. Let's figure this out. Their healthy approach is, hey, we're going to do something that you really like. Or I'm going to give you something that you really like. Usually that's a food item. Most people that are gifts people like to do a healthy approach to conflict. They're doing it over a table. They're bringing something to the table. They lean in to connection through gifts. Okay, where are my acts of service people? Stand up. This is always a big one. So many acts of service people. Okay, so everybody start looking around the room and figure out whose house you're cleaning next week. Yeah, Carl's waving. Okay, you can sit down. Okay, so acts of service people. How many of you have ever felt hurt, frustrated, resentful because you felt like somebody did something for you out of obligation? Raise your hand. Yeah. Everybody feels those feelings. Acts of service people really feel that. That's when your kid, after you've asked them, this is just tip for any kids in the house still. It's when your kid sets the table for dinner after you've asked them 800 times. Your mom does not feel loved. She does not feel loved. But if she shows up to go make dinner and the table's already set, you might be getting ice cream. I don't know. Okay? People with acts of service also feel hurt if they feel like their acts of service are ignored or unreciprocated. These people find that far more hurtful than most others. When their love tank gets too low, they tend to use the word used. I feel used. I'm always doing all this for everybody else. They're kind of the Martha, right? I'm doing everything for everybody else. And nobody does anything around here. Why am I the only one doing the laundry, doing whatever it is, right? They feel used. Their unhealthy approach to conflict, it tends to be a little bit petty. And I can say that because I am an acts of service person who has had unhealthy approaches to conflict in the past, sometimes still do. It's the intentional disregard of tasks that impact the other person, okay? They walked by the laundry last night on their way to bed. The wash didn't get put in the dryer, and they know that the person they're mad at needs that clean, dry shirt for work in the morning. I didn't see it. Right? They're not putting it in the dryer. They're going, they can figure it out on their own. the intentional disregard of tasks that impact the other person, their healthy approach to conflict. These are not the people like the gifts people that are buying the Starbucks. These are the people that are brewing the Starbucks, okay? Their healthy approach to conflict is let's work together. Let's be side by side and work together on the conflict. They are gonna lean into whatever needs getting done. They are also more likely to notice when the other person is tired and exhausted. They tend to be really gracious when they see that the other person is tired and exhausted, and they're willing to address conflict by helping the other person. So those are each one of the love languages. Sometimes conflict happens because there's a mismatch in love languages, right? I've already told a story about Amy and I'm gonna tell another one because she's like a sister to me. She's probably the person I'm closest to in the world. We now actually live across the street from each other. And as two single adult women, I gotta tell you, it is really nice to live across the street from your best friend. For years, as an acts of service girl, of course at the time I didn't know this, but her condo, across the parking lot, there's a big dumpster. And so every time I would go over there, I'd sort of mentally check the trash that she had, and if the trash was full, on my way out, I would pick up the bag of trash and I'd take it to the dumpster because I love her. That was how I was expressing love to her. You know what? She could not have cared less. She didn't care. She didn't even notice that I was doing it, okay? And the whole time I'm like, she could say thank you once in a while, right? Like I'm like got the big old bag of trash that I'm like heaving into the dumpster. She doesn't even notice, you know? And over time I'm starting to like get kind of resentful. Meanwhile, she'll be out and about in Birmingham, and randomly she'll just be like, hey, I saw these earrings I thought you really might like when I was walking through at home or when I was walking through Target. And so all of a sudden she's giving me earrings. Guess what? Gifts is last on my love language list. Couldn't care less about the gifts. I'm going, okay, thank you. I'm so great. I like getting gifts, but I'm not feeling loved. I feel gratitude for it, but I don't feel loved. Same thing with her. She's grateful. She feels gratitude for me taking out the trash. Not feeling loved. Well, over time, this created conflict for us. Over time, there's this increasing sense of disconnection every time it happened, right? I'm not responding to her in the way that she wants me to respond when she gives me a gift that represents her love for me. And she's not responding to me when I take out the trash the way that I want her to respond when I'm expressing love to her. And over time, it creates this conflict. So a couple of years ago, we ended up in a conference, a workshop just like this, where somebody did love languages with us. And it was like it clicked. Listen, I did love languages the first time I was exposed. I was 10 years old. But it clicked. Something in it clicked for us where we were like, oh, that's what that is. And now it's interesting because in the moments that she gives me a gift, I can actually stop and remind myself that she's actually expressing a deep heart connection. She's expressing a deep feeling of love for me, and I can stop and receive it as love, not as a gift, but I can receive it as love. And when I take out her trash, she occasionally now will say to me, hey, I feel really loved. Words of affirmations, number 2 for me. Thank you, just thank you. I feel really loved when you do that, Erica. I'm not gonna use that example because we still have kids in the room. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Other mismatches, words of affirmation, right? And quality time. Words of affirmation takes how long? 2 seconds, right? That's why I love words of affirmation people, because sometimes if you're short on time, I can go, you know what, you have great taste. I love that shirt on you. And then I can move on with my day, and they're like, oh, right? And the quality time people, it doesn't take long, but it takes longer than a few seconds. to have quality time with somebody, engaged, undivided attention, present with the person, quality time person. Well, if you've got, let's say, a spouse who is words of affirmation and the other is quality time, and all the one spouse does is give words of affirmation, but that quality time person is like, they don't even love me. My spouse doesn't even love me. They don't want to spend time with me. They don't want to hang out with me. I don't understand. They're always on their phone. They complimented my shoes. They complimented the meal I cooked, but I don't feel loved. Over time, it lowers that love tank and you're more prone to conflict. Ultimately, a mismatch in expressing and receiving love creates disconnection over time, and disconnection leads to conflict. So what ends up happening in conflict, all people feel a spike of stress hormones when they engage in conflict with another. We were created to be in community, to feel, to express, and receive love from the people around us. And when we're in conflict or there's disconnection, it's actually the opposite of what we were created for. How many of you know that when God created the world, He did not actually intend us to be in conflict? Conflict occurs because we are no longer in a perfect creation. So we have this stress hormone, cortisol, spikes up in our system. And usually what happens is, for all people, they have 4 responses, one of 4 responses, sometimes more than one, usually it's one of 4 responses. And those are fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Raise your hand if you're familiar with those. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Fight person, their response to the stress hormone, they perceive it as a threat and they get aggressive. These are the people that are like, oh yeah, confrontation, let's go. Okay, these are the people that are gonna argue in a conflict. They wanna get to the bottom of it and they're a little bit aggressive. The flight people, these are the people that are like, what conflict? There's no conflict here, and they're like out the door, okay? They're the people that are like, I think everything's good. I'm going to run from this, avoid the conversation, and pretend like everything's fine. Freeze people, very similar. The freeze people are kind of like, have you seen the meme of the cartoon dog? And he's sitting in a kitchen and everything around him is on fire, and the little thought bubble says, this is fine, okay? Those are my freeze people. Freeze people are the people that are like, everything's good, I'm gonna pretend like this isn't happening. I don't feel disconnected, everything feels great. Okay, these are my freeze people. They're the ones that are going, when there's a true threat, they're the ones that are playing dead. These are my play dead people. Okay, you can't fight with a dead person. These are my freeze people. Fawn is a relatively new studied response. These are the people pleasers, okay? These are the people that are going to butter you up to prevent a fight. These are the people that are gonna do really nice things for you. They're gonna appease. These are the people that are not just saying, everything's fine, I'm okay. They're like, we're good. We're really good, you're good. Don't worry about that. Internally, they're like so upset, but externally, we're good. We're good. So what happens in conflict, and this is the part, if you are really practical, this is where you should take notes. Because if you can do this thing that I'm about to tell you, it will change your life. It will change every single one of your relationships. When you notice that you're entering into that stress response because there's disconnection and there's conflict, or there's about to be conflict, if you can stop and notice that you're entering into one of those 4 F's, if you can actually just think, oh, F. Notice that it's happening. Just notice that it's happening. Oh, my tendency is I want to run away right now. I'm going to pretend like nothing's happening. Just notice it. Oh, it's that thing again. I'm doing that thing. It's because I'm nervous, because there's conflict. I feel stressed because there's conflict. If you notice it, then you can approach it with compassion and acceptance. Makes sense that I would feel stressed in conflict. That's actually the way I'm created. I'm wired to feel stressed in conflict because conflict's not natural. It was not intended for humanity. So of course I feel stressed. You approach it with compassion, validation, and acceptance, and this is all internal, okay? And the third thing you do is you ground yourself. You just get back in your body. Feel your feet on the floor. In fact, I want every single person to just take a minute, plant your feet on the floor. If you need to, just kind of like rub your feet around on the floor. Just notice how your feet feel on the floor. And then just I want you to notice the weight of your body in your chair. Just kind of notice it for a second. The way the back of the seat feels. And now I want you to just focus on, just relax your shoulders. Just kind of. And then I want you to notice if your jaw's clenched. Just relax your jaw. Raise your hand if you feel calmer. Okay. In the moment of that spike, I'm noticing I want to run away. I'm noticing I want to get aggressive. I'm noticing I want to freeze and play dead. I'm noticing that I want to appease or please the other person. That makes sense. And now I'm grounding myself to calm myself down. I'm getting out of the stress response so that I can think clearly and we can resolve the conflict. Did you know that when you get into one of the 4F responses, the part of your brain that registers cognitive, rational thinking turns off? You literally can't think straight. Have you ever been so mad you feel like a crazy person? There's a reason for that. It's because that part of your brain is off. And all of a sudden, you're operating in a primal part of the brain. Sometimes we call it monkey brain or lizard brain. And it's the part of the brain that is just keep you alive. But when you're in a conflict, you don't just want to stay alive and survive. You want to thrive in the relationship. So you've got to get yourself back online. Research shows that it only takes 90 seconds for your body to metabolize the stress hormone cortisol. That means that within 90 seconds of noticing, validating, and accepting, and grounding, that feeling can decrease significantly. Isn't that interesting? 90 seconds. So then you can move into what I like to call brave communication. Some people call it courageous communication. Romans 12:18 says this: if it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Some of us living at peace with everyone means everything's fine. I'm okay, you're okay, everything's fine, there's no conflict here. That is not what he is talking about in this. As far as, if it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everything, with everyone. There are two ways. See, in Matthew 5:9, it says, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God. There's a difference between a peacekeeper and a peacemaker. A peacekeeper is somebody that refuses to do conflict. We're not called to do that. You're a peacemaker when you're creating peace where there's not peace. We're called to be peacemakers as children of God. The way that we do that is through brave, courageous communication. There's a trigger for this. It's I feel confused, I feel afraid, and I feel hurt. That's the trigger for I need to have brave communication with somebody. There are some tools that I use for brave communication. The first one is I am wondering if. This is what would have been healthy for me with the Minnie Mouse ears, the Alabama mouse ears. What would have been a really healthy response is, Amy, I'm wondering if for some reason you felt hurt when I gave you this gift. I'm noticing that you're not having the reaction I thought you were going to have, and I'm wondering what that's about. If I had approached her from a place of curiosity, it probably would have resolved the conflict much more quickly. Thankfully, she was healthy and she was able to communicate with me without me having to use the tool for brave communication. But I'm wondering if, because I was confused by her response, I was hurt by her response, and I was afraid that I'd done something wrong. That's a trigger for brave communication. I'm wondering if. The other one, this is from Brené Brown. I love this tool. It's called The Story I'm Making Up in My Head Is. How many of you are storytellers in your head? How many of you are not really great at nonfiction stories? You're really good at fiction stories in your head. Yeah, that's because humans are meaning-making people. We are meaning-making creatures. Okay, so when somebody does something that hurts us or makes us feel afraid or confused, we immediately start making up a story in our head about why. Why didn't he pick up milk on the way home from work? You're making up a story because he's so lazy. Why can't he do anything around here? Could she just once in a while tell me that she's proud of me? Hurt, scared, confusion. The story I'm making up in my head is this. So what that might sound like is, hey, this thing happened and I'm making up a story in my head about it. Here's the story I'm making up. And you just tell them, here's the story I'm making up. I want to check that out with you because I want to believe that that's not true. Can you help me understand? It's really just saying, I'm curious and I want to understand. Curiosity and compassion are great tools in brave communication. The last one is I feel and I need. I feel this and I need this. This one's really direct. It's very straightforward. It's, I feel hurt when this happened, and what I need from you is an apology. Is there anything you'd like me to know about that? It's still curious. There's still compassion attached, but it's very direct. I feel this. I need this. Most conflicts can be solved or prevented with brave, loving communication. There's a researcher, Gottman and Levinson. Gottman actually created a method of marriage therapy that is based on a lot of cognitive psychology. And he did some research that was published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships. And it suggests that addressing conflicts promptly and constructively leads to a better relationship. That sounds like a given, but most of us don't do that. Most of us go, I'm gonna go vent to my friend first, and then I'm gonna wait because maybe it'll resolve itself and I don't really need to do everything because everything's fine, right? But when you promptly and constructively address the conflict in a relationship, it increases relationship satisfaction and it lowers levels of distress. Proverbs 15:1 says, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. James 1:19 says, everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. In other words, when we speak out of fear, powerlessness, hurt, confusion, a lot of times that'll come up as anger for us. Anger is not a primary emotion, it's a secondary emotion. When we speak from that place, that high cortisol spot, it doesn't actually produce what God intends us to produce in our relationships. It doesn't produce love. Everyone should be quick to listen. That means stay curious. Slow to speak, be gracious. Slow to become anger, have compassion. Because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. So I'm going to land this plane here. On brave communication, you made it. If anybody was nervous about conflict, talking about conflict. You can breathe now. We're about done here. So I'm going to land this plane, but I have a few things. We're going to take a break here. I think our break is 15-ish minutes. Yeah, about 15 minutes. And during the break, I want you to think about and find somebody to discuss with as you go stand and get a snack, get some water, go to the bathroom. I'm sure there will be a line for the ladies' room, so ladies, we have some time we can chat. How have you noticed conflict in your life that's related to your love language? Has there ever been a mismatch that's led to conflict? What stands out to you from Brave Communication? What stands out to you and how to resolve conflict effectively? And how will using this tool change your approach to what you've been doing if you haven't been using it already? So with that, I'm going to let everybody go, and then we'll be back in about 15 minutes, and we're going to wrap this thing up.